ready.
I'm ready.
He's good.
He's
2,
good.
1.
Anyone who earns the same deal of good money that YouTubers get from their content would surely invest in a huge mansion and the latest, fastest, top brand sports car. That's just good sense. But if you really want to appreciate how the other half lives, you gotta see what kind of crazy, sometimes useless luxuries that YouTubers have bought, just because they can. In this video, we'll show you some of the most expensive things YouTubers have bought that's not a mansion or a sports car. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Let's start off with Logan Paul's party on wheels. With his 9,200 square foot mansion worth $6.6 million, can you guess what this controversial YouTuber considers as his favorite car? Now, I know I said I wouldn't be talking about mansions or sports cars in this video, but that's quite alright since Logan Paul's favorite pimped out ride is not a sports car, but a school bus. Wait, what? Yeah, you heard it right. You may often spot Logan Paul in his white Mercedes G-Wagon in his vlogs. But I guess he got bored of it one day and decided that he wanted to get a school bus and turn it into a party wagon. With no less than 30 speakers to play all kinds of party music, its own minibar, and fully equipped kitchen to boot. The actual bus and all the modifications he did to it must have set Logan back a few $1,000s, but that's really not surprising, isn't it? No, it can't be, since Logan Paul was never known for skimping on the finer things in life. You all remember Maverick, his parrot, right? As if it wasn't enough flex that Paul had an actual San Conur parrot as a pet, he even went out of his way to get the bird its own diamond ring. Now tell me this is not the world's biggest flex. Some people can't even afford a diamond ring for their engagement or wedding day. And here goes Logan Paul spending no less than $5,000 just so his parrot can wear a diamond ring on its ankle. He did try to recoup some of that amount by immediately selling Maverick-inspired socks after splurging on the bling for his beloved parrot. Now, while we're on the topic of spending boatloads of cash on fur babies, we can't not mention Fazy Banks and his $25,000 French bulldog named Paris. Banks and his ex-girlfriend Alyssa Violet got the beautiful, expensive beast when they were still together. But I'm sure you remember how Paris and his sibling, London the English bulldog, both played huge parts in the messy Violet Banks breakup that saw Alyssa dragging Fazy Banks all over Twitter. It was also on Twitter where Alyssa exposed Banks for wanting to send the two lovely dogs to Violet's parents in Ohio because, well, he thought they were too much for him. But according to Alyssa, Banks completely neglected the mutts and expected her to take care of them all by herself. This expose is all kind of messed up because it seems like Banks just spent all that money on a beautiful dog for the clout. I mean, say what you want about Logan Paul, but Maverick the parrot seems genuinely cared for under his ownership. Don't you think? Anyway, let's move on to other expensive things YouTubers have bought. This time, we have Casey Neistat spending about $40,000 on the most expensive plane ticket in the world. That's crazy, right? Etihad Airways, the residence cabins, charges the hefty fee in exchange for lush services like an on-call butler who can serve you food in the living room, the bedroom, and even in the shower. And what about 14 feet of legroom? Guaranteed no one's gonna kick the back of your seat or your bed for your long-haul flight. For me, this sole luxury makes the flight to Abu Dhabi worthy of its 40 grand price tag. To be fair, the first time Neistat took the flight, he didn't spend a dime because he was completely sponsored by Etihad. But he had such a wonderful time he ended up returning and paying the full price for it. Talk about the finer things in life. They call it the most expensive plane seat in the world. But can you really call it a seat when it spans 3 rooms? It's even bigger than some apartments I've seen in the Upper East. Now, if you had $40,000, what would you spend it on? The most expensive flight in the world, or one of the most luxurious Rolex watches you've ever laid eye on? Logan Paul went for the timepiece. You might have come across one of his videos where he claimed to have bought a $3 million Patek Philippe Grandmaster chime in Dubai. But I'll spare you the disappointment and tell you right now that it was nothing but clickbait. He simply tried the watch on to see how it felt. But he did buy his first Rolex on that same trip, and a rather nice one at that. It was a day date too that cost him $40,000. It looks awesome as heck though, and definitely a more sound investment than the $3 million Patek Philippe would have been. Moving over to Logan's little brother, Jake. Perhaps we all heard of what happened to his relationship with his social media influencer wife, Tana Mungo. In August, they broadcast their whole Vegas wedding, but Tanya says from the moment that she and Jake said "I do," her husband seemed to lose interest. And it really looked like that because who goes on to finish his honeymoon without his wife? At the time, she was attending to an emergency. Her father was having a stroke. Yep, It's Jake Paul. Instead of trying to help his sick father-in-law, Jake chose to complete his honeymoon sans his wife, with his brother Logan and some friends. They ended up enjoying days worth of activities in the UK, partying, then riding a yacht to Ibiza. Jake burned through $1 million for this pretty selfish move. Now, here's a question for you. How much are you willing to pay for a pretty expensive food trip with friends? Would you shell out more than $1,000 for it? Maybe, if we're talking about feeding your entire gang for one whole day, am I right? But that's not what Mr. Beast had in mind. As one of the richest and most extravagant YouTubers in history, Mr. Beast is out to prove that he can splurge on all things, may it be good, bad, or even food. So one time he took out his friends Chris and Chandler on probably the best food trip ever, especially if you're not the one paying the tab later on. Mr. Beast, aka Jimmy Donaldson, went on a mission to look for the most expensive food he could get his hands on in America. The famous philanthropist YouTuber started with a $1 pizza, then a $2 hot dog, and so on and so forth. At some time, he bought a $100 milkshake, then paid $250 for a single grilled cheese sandwich. After tasting a $1 sundae, he called David Dobrik and some of the vlog squad on board to get to the main event. For the big ticket items, he did not even flinch after ordering so many expensive steaks. One was priced at $2,000. Then there was the $3,000 pork with an aged Scotch sauce. Then there was a $4 tomahawk steak with exotic coffee. After the meat, Mr. Beast showed how much of a beast he was when he still had the stomach to try out a $5,000 taco made out of squid ink shells and topped with caviar. For the finale, Mr. Beast went all out to order a pizza that was covered with 1 ounce of gold, topped with a 10-year-old bechamel sauce, Wagyu marinated in a $10,000 wine, and foie gras seared and flambéed with $6,000 worth of apple juice. That pizza alone cost him $70,000, but he did not even break a sweat. The total cost of that uber expensive food trip? No less than $100,000. Moving on to other expensive purchases of YouTubers, we have Roman Atwood's custom-made water park. For y'all who might not know who Roman Atwood is, he's actually one of the original YouTubers who got famous for playing pranks and doing a lot of fun and cool activities with his family. He is one of those who can make pretty awesome and interesting vlogs without having to sound and look stupid, and he really looks like he's having a lot of fun with his kids. Now, over the course of 2 years, Roman Atwood and his family did a really huge project in their backyard. While others explored camping or cookouts in their backyard, Roman Atwood, because of his pretty huge backyard, was able to construct a customized water park for his family. At first, it started out with filling his own backhoe with water and just dropping off the load to his kids for fun. And then they installed a pool, a trampoline in the pool, and then a slide. Just by looking at the construction costs and other materials used to make such a fun place in his own home, it probably cost him a couple $100,000. Then we finally get to talk about Jeffrey Star. We know that he is one of, if not the richest, YouTubers around, owing it all not just to his multi-million-dollar generating vlogs, but also to his makeup line that has grown quite the number of patrons over the years. With that in mind, he really doesn't need to keep the words thrifty, savings, or dollar stores in his vocabulary. That's why he can afford luxury cars and homes, and 2 Hermes Himalaya Nauticus crocodile Birkin bags that cost $90,000 each. Jeffree Star also easily got back from a slump after being robbed of $2.5 million worth of cosmetics in his warehouse, although he did take the matter very seriously. Plus, he also owns an entire mountain, yes, his very own mountain, which is actually just part of his garden in one of his big mansions. Now, can you even put a price tag on that? Anyway, that wraps up the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.